Well, hello everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Progressively Yours Health and Wellness Podcast.
We're so delighted that you're here. I'm Bernard, and she is Imani, and we are delighted for you to be here to participate in and experience another wonderful show. Before we begin our show, we like to begin, you slow down, with our spiritual opening, which is part of our ritual and tradition. It's not religious, just a time that we settle in and relax and prepare our hearts and our minds to be transformed from the information that we shall receive tonight. So I'd like to invite you, if you are open to participating, to find a place where you can be comfortable for this mindful meditative moment in the reading from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, The Living Wisdom of the Tao. But first, I'd like for you to listen to the sounds of the tingshaws. And as you hear the three sounds, begin to take in 3 breaths in and out through your nose. Begin to relax your body, your muscles, and just allow the sounds to vibrate within your inside self. This taps into our parasympathetic nerves to calm us down, to settle us. But these words, the 28th verse, text from which I'm reading. As I preserve my original qualities, I can do or govern anything. I live with radical humility. Know the strength of man, but keep a woman's care. Be a valley under heaven. If you do, the constant virtue will not fade away. One will become like a child again. Know the white, keep to the black, and be the pattern of the world. To be the pattern of the world is to move constantly in the path of virtue without erring a single step, and to return again to the infinite. One who understands splendor while holding to humility acts in accord with eternal power. To be the fountain of the world is to live the abundant life of virtue. When the unformed is formed into objects, its original qualities are lost. If you preserve your original qualities, you can govern anything. Truly, the best governor governs least. As I preserve my original qualities, I can do or govern anything. I live with radical humility. It is for the ancestors as we move our lives and live our lives with the radical humility and maintain our original virtue. Thank you.
It was wonderful. And what struck me was in the very beginning when you talked about, and you did read it again, I can do, when I'm in my original power, I can do or govern anything. And I remember my mom planting that seed as a child in me. And I believed her. It's like anything you want to do, you can do it. If somebody else has done it, you can do it. If nobody has done it and you want to do it, you can do it. And so I think those words really propelled me in my life to take on a lot leadership roles and creating things that weren't there previously, and just having fun. But knowing that, we set limits on ourselves that we don't have to. So I am forever grateful. I mean, both of my parents encouraged me tremendously, but I remember my mom in particular, anything you want to do, you can do. And so I'm grateful to her for that thought. And so we are going to move quickly through our announcements. One of the first announcements I want to make is that we are I don't want to say we're taking the month of September off, but we're going to have some wonderful recordings of past shows throughout the month. We may have one live show, and we have to talk about that. But sometimes it's important to take time to retool and to regroup and to use the principles of Sankofa and, look at where we've been to understand where we're going. And so we're going through that sort of process. But we are certainly kind of going out with a bang this evening. We have a wonderful, wonderful guest. But before we get to our guest, I want to do just a little bit of our promotions. We did have Dr. Samuel Peters on a couple shows, maybe about a month ago now. And he shared with us his creation, which is the Alice AI. And Alice is a long acronym that stands for something, and I didn't write it out. But Alice uses plant frequencies to help the body to heal itself and to help the body to make adjustments. Two of the programs actually scan your body while you're listening to it on your phone. And as it's scanning, it's also making adjustments too. So it's sort of George Washington Carver meets AI, the whole plant frequency piece, and figuring out how to marry that with where we are in current times with AI. So phenomenal program. And I think we have a little video, maybe 2-minute video that we want to share about Alice AI.
This is going to blow your mind. Imagine your phone as your personal doctor. Introducing Alice. Alice stands for Artificial Liaison Intelligent Computing Enumeration System. It's a groundbreaking artificial intelligence that uses plant frequencies to heal the human body. How, you ask? By analyzing all 11 systems within your body, and helps facilitate repairs one system at a time. Imagine having a back injury from a car accident. Alice can help with that. Not only does it address injuries, but it also boosts your immune system. In global catastrophes where resources are thin, Alice preserves energy signatures of supplements and administers them via your smartphone. Just add distilled water. This tech makes healthcare accessible anywhere, anytime. By simply placing your phone over your chest, Alice gets to work. Vitamins and nutrients delivered directly. We've been transmitting supplements globally for 2 years. The future isn't just coming, it's here. Dive into the limitless possibilities with Alice.
All right. My phone is ringing off the hook because people want to know what's going on with Alice. They want to try, they want to have a session. So if you'd like more information about Alice AI, you want to definitely get this for yourself and your family, definitely call me to either schedule a session or figure out how you can get your own app on your phone or your own monthly subscription. It's really not an app, but call me, 470-861-7266 to find out more or to order your version of Alice AI. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Bernard.
Thank you, Imani. It is indeed my honor and privilege to introduce our guest. I met him through another show because Imani and I have watched this video about electromagnetic radiation being spread during the night while we are asleep. And on another show, I was aware of Brother Norbert's program with the IPC had been introduced to us, and so I wanted to ordered his piece, and I called him and we talked about it, have a conversation, and I invited him if he would come on our show. We'll do another show to talk more about this, because tonight we're going to focus on coffee addiction and caffeine and the drugs of caffeine and sugar. But that's how we met and had that conversation, and he agreed with just excitement and delight to join us tonight. Brother Norbert Heuser is a German entrepreneur, author, and public speaker known for his innovative approach to health and wellness. As the founder of IPC USA Corp, Norbert focuses on developing cutting-edge technologies that aim to improve life and conditions of our planet. His work spans various topics, including alternative medicine, lifestyle improvements, and the impact of modern technologies like 5G and EMF exposure. Norbert is a passionate advocate for holistic health, offering challenging conventional wisdom and encouraging individuals to rethink their daily habits, such as caffeine consumption, to lead healthier lives. In addition to his entrepreneurial ventures, Norbert is a prolific speaker and educator, hosting webinars and discussions that dive into complexities of contemporary health issues. His platform, Improve Your Life with Norbert, offers insights into balancing caffeine intake and understanding its cultural significance. Through his engaging presentations and writings, Norbert inspires audiences to adapt a more informed and mindful approach to wellness, making him a respected figure in the health community. So it is indeed an honor and privilege to bring on the stage with us now our guest, Brother Norbert Heuser. It is indeed an honor to have you with us tonight, dear sir. Welcome to Progressive of Yours Health and Wellness.
Thank you for having me, and you send much too much flowers my way. I don't deserve these.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
you do.
yes, you do. Yeah, so we I want to say up front that we have you as our guest tonight, but you can also anticipate an invitation to come back again so we can get into a few other topics, at least one at a time. How about that?
Yes, thank you.
Sounds like something you said, huh?
The audience doesn't know there was an insider story.
That's right. And that's all on me, because I was so excited when I was reading your bio and information. I just wanted to cover everything and everything.
We may have to clarify here the mystery. So when Bernard approached me, he wanted to do about 6-7 subjects in one show. And that's impossible, because I have the target. When I speak about a subject,
right,
I want to speak about it once and walk away from it, and it's covered. I want people to have a conceptual understanding from A to Z,
right,
so they're not puzzled, and we don't leave bits and pieces out, and it leaves question marks. So
right.
Thank you for accepting that we do tonight only one theme, and in the future only one theme, and I promise I'll give you all what I have researched over the last 20 years, 30 years, and put it on the table. And then everybody decides it makes sense or makes no sense. Very simple.
Right, very good. Well, we look forward to that. Before we get into the topic tonight, coffee addiction and caffeine and sugar, the most widespread drugs in the world. No, but tell us just kind of briefly, this question I like to ask everyone that comes on the show. Tell us whatever comes to mind about what do you remember about the first 12 years of your life? What stands out as a part of your story?
The first 12 years of my life were an indicator to where I am today. I didn't see the writing on the wall, but it was there, right? So at the age of 3, I had my first time out of body experience, and which I could not speak about to anybody because people don't teach you. Look, this can happen. You can leave your body and you will experience things. So we're not prepared for this experience. So I kept it to myself for many, many years till later in life. I found people who had the same experiences, and then you easen up. So at the age of 3, I had the first time an out-of-body experience. At the same age, I had the first time a vision of my previous life. I must say, in this lifetime, I'm not a saint, but in this lifetime, I never drank alcohol and I never smoked cigarettes. I never took drugs. I never drank coffee. All these goodies, I didn't need them. So at the age of 3, I was tasting a bit of alcohol, and the flesh ran through my brain and said, give me the instruction. No, thank you. You don't need that. So, and then I remembered a bit later, in a previous life, I did have problems with alcohol, and I didn't need to do that again. So at the age of 10, I came in direct contact with alternative medicine through my illness of my brother. And later on, I saw the pattern. In the age of 16, 14, I came into contact with medicine, alternative medicine, and these were always sparks, and they were outstanding, and they interested me. And this was how I got into it.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful stories. Thank you. I mean, and you said at the outset, one of the reasons I asked that question, you were able to identify your life today has its connections with your early life, and it set the pattern for who you are and what you're about today. Is that right?
Sure. You see, interesting enough, later in life, I found that especially children have a very intense access still to previous life if we let them, if we allow them, if we support them, right? If we don't invalidate them when they come up with ideas, right? And we are all spiritual beings, and we have all a job to do here. Some of us are aware of it, some of us not. But you cannot run away from responsibilities. So once you realize that is my path, that's my calling, you have no choice. You have to follow it.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right.
It's so great that you were able to tune in and kind of realize who you were from a very young age. A lot of people get messages or have experiences, and it either scares them, frightens them, or they totally, kind of write it off. Oh, I was just dreaming or whatever. And, some people who are able to tap in end up doing the alcohol and the drugs and the stuff to numb themselves so that they don't feel what they were experiencing. So it's great that you were able to tune in and have that guide your life.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
Well, I took a shortcut. I cut out a lot of crap, which I didn't need to do.
Right.
Yeah, good for you.
So let us begin. Tell us about the book, how it was born, and let's get into some of the content of the subject at hand.
Okay. Well, I'm working for many, many years as a life and health consultant, as a coach, and I worked a lot with alcoholics. And I started to understand what addiction is. And I did a 1-year apprenticeship, so to speak, as an adult with a doctor, where him and I worked every day except Sunday and Christmas for 1 year. Every day for 1 year except Christmas and Sunday, where we researched addiction. And my finding from this time was very clearly what addiction is. And I made my own thesis that you can be addicted to the three P's, like alphabet, the P, letter P. You can be addicted to 3 P's, which I explained, by the way, in my book. You can be addicted to a product, to a person, or to a procedure. These are the 3 potential sources for addiction. Now, addiction is very simple. It's always the craving for the wrong. You don't have people have in the morning the craving for orange juice. When I, in kinesiology, muscle tested people, nobody can really digest orange juice, but it's accepted as healthy. And I've proved to people you should not drink it. It's unhealthy. Every single person I tested so far in my life cannot digest orange juice. And so I gave seminars, workshops, and where I taught these things, and was with this doctor. And we found very clearly addiction has no limitation. We always think about addiction, alcohol, drugs, that's addiction. I've seen a man dying because of a milk addiction. You can be addicted to anything. And addiction simply means your free will is smaller, or let me reverse that. The addiction is stronger than your free will. The addiction controls partially your life. So every alcoholic I worked with, the very next day, would swear to God he will never drink again. And you know what? They really meant it. They meant it to the moment it kicked in again. And the big problem is for everyone who's really strongly addicted, the self-esteem is broken all the time. The self-respect, the self-esteem, but they cannot control it. Impossible. It's not a question, oh, you could be stronger, you could do this. No. So I worked with alcoholics, and the way it works, an alcoholic drinks on a rainy day and says, such a crappy weather, I gotta, bring some joy in my life and let me drink a glass, right? The next day, the sun is shining, and he says, well, what a glorious day. Let's celebrate with a drink, right? He has always a justification, a reason, right? Good. So that's the basic structure, which I explain in my book as well. And then I found that people who drink coffee were acting similar, right? And as I was talking about 10 years on stage, don't drink coffee, stay away from it. It's a drug, right? Like sugar. Sugar and coffee are the most widespread drugs. And the problem is they are socially accepted as no drug. We know all by now that sugar is incredibly dangerous to our health, to our life. But that's another show, another time. But so when the lockdown was, and I couldn't give seminars, I said, well, you always speak about coffee. Now let's make a self-test. I never drink coffee. So I made a self-test. Every morning I would drive in, get a coffee, and go to the company. And I made a 30-day target to do that, to see how does it work for me. So the target was, after 30 days, I stop and see my reaction of the body and so on. And the 31st day, I drove to this drive-in and said, well, what another day, come on, it's another day, it's not important, right? And then the second day, I said, well, come on, 2 days, what the hell, And then I said the third day, why didn't you say 60 days? Why did you limit yourself to 30 days? And I saw how the addiction with only one coffee a day for 30 days knocked me over. And it took me 2 months to get out of it. 2 months to get out of it, which I all explain in my book. So then I researched the theme more and more and more and more. And here are some facts I would like to give you up front, because I'm pretty certain that the majority of listeners who drink coffee will say, I'm not addicted. I can stop tomorrow.
Yeah.
No problem, right? And again, important is it's not coffee. It's the caffeine in the coffee.
Okay.
And the problem is nowadays we have caffeine everywhere. All the soda pops, all the energy drinks, the Red Bulls and whatever, the Monster drinks, whatever the name is, they have all caffeine, and even more than coffee.
Okay.
So, and this is where the danger starts, because it's not only coffee. What happens now is I have to jump back in history. And I will have to talk quickly about the saber-toothed tiger 50,000 years ago.
Yes.
We have what I call emergency programs in our body. Thirst is an emergency program. The body tells you, drink or you will die. Same for hunger. Sleep is an emergency program. Have you ever caught yourself that you were trying to stay awake and suddenly you were gone?
Yep.
Without any control? because the body says, I don't care what you think about it. I need to sleep now. And my emergency program is stronger than you will to stay awake.
That's true.
Number one. Number two, emergency programs. If you wouldn't get the sensation, something would happen, right? So we have a lot of emergency programs, which we're not aware of. And one emergency program we have, which hardly anybody's aware of, is stress. Stress is an emergency program. How did that come? So 30,000 years ago, when you were confronting a saber-toothed tiger or whatever animal, you had two chances. You could fight for your life or run for your life. In this moment of fear of death, the adrenaline glands, if we look at the image number, image number 6, if you can bring in image number 6, you see the adrenaline glands which sit on top of the kidneys, right? They sit there, and we all need a normal level of adrenaline to live, a normal level of adrenaline. All right, thank you for the image. So when you're in fear of death, the adrenaline glands produces adrenaline through the wazoo, because you need all the power you can get to run like crazy or fight like crazy. So people, we know in life, very often stories happened that people in this situation did things where you say humanly not possible. Nobody can have this strength. Now, and that was for a moment, for a day, an hour, 10 minutes, right? And when the situation was over, either you were dead or you survived. And then after a few hours, your adrenaline level, which was through the wazoo, would come down again to normal. Something happens in this situation with the adrenaline level. The body cuts off normal functions. You're not hungry anymore in this situation. You don't feel pain. You don't feel sleepy. You don't want to have sex with your wife. All the functions in your body which are normal, in the case of fear of death and the adrenaline level up through the roof, the body's functions are either completely stopped or drastically reduced. Okay? So what does it have to do with coffee? Well, all it has to do with coffee. This emergency program of stress, you cannot switch off. We hardly have ever a situation in our lives where we're fear of death, except you're in a war, but in our daily lives, you don't have it. But the mechanics are still the same. They're still there. We cannot switch them off. And now comes the key element of all this. In the moment you drink caffeine, the caffeine stimulates the adrenaline glands to do exactly the same like fear of death. And that is the crucial part. The adrenaline level jumps up through the roof. Certain body functions are reduced. You don't even realize it. And this fear feeling reflects, so to speak, the caffeine masks this situation. Does it make sense? Man, you may not know it, but you know what I explain. Now, the problem is, if you drink caffeine, it stays in your body up to 20 hours. You drink one coffee in the morning, 8 o'clock, it takes about 20 hours to get rid of it of our system.
And how much water does it take to flush it out?
It's not water. You cannot say, okay, I dilute it now. I drink 5 gallons of water, right? To dilute it. No, that doesn't work like this.
Okay.
So the majority of people who drink coffee have 1, 2 in the morning, at work, come to the office, coffee machine runs, in the afternoon, in the evening. So the body can never come down. And then we have what is called chronic stress.
Yeah.
It's chronic. It's there all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the people become sick. A companion of mine has in Germany a wonderful alternative cancer clinic. alternative private cancer clinic with big success. And they discovered that their average cancer patient does not produce any more adrenaline. Because of this chronic stress and the chronic production of adrenaline, the adrenaline glands are worn out. They're finished.
Wow.
And I've never met anybody else in this world who knows that or works with this. Most likely no doctor knows that. Because they don't look into many things they should look in. Because the doctors always make one problem, to my opinion. They treat an illness, but not a patient.
Right.
For success, you must treat a patient. Holistic.
Right.
The patient has different facets of his body which create his life. You cannot take one segment out and look at this one segment and say that's it. No. You have to look at everything in this body, in this life.
You know, your story about kind of the doctors and where they are with coffee made me think of times that I've gone for, and I haven't done this in a long time, but when I had gone for mammograms, and in the waiting room that is, you know, screening you for the possibility of cancer nodes or whatever, and they have coffee and cookies in the waiting room.
Sure.
Really? You know, it's like no sense. It made no sense at all.
No, but the majority, look in our society, what's going on, the majority of things which are happening make no sense in all different areas. Okay,
Right.
we lost common sense. We lost common understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is the procedure why caffeine creates an unhealthy body and has these consequences. Every third person in the moment is dying of cancer. I've never heard on CNN, which I don't listen to, but that they give you the reason. What's the reason that every third person dies of cancer? When I was a kid, not every third person died of cancer.
No,
Okay.
not at all. Not at all. This
And
is tea, by the way. This is
I
mint.
saw that. Don't worry,
This is not coffee I'm drinking.
I saw the paper level. But look, it's a free country. You drink whatever makes you happy. Okay.
I would not be drinking coffee, and I'm not a coffee drinker.
Now, caffeine, we must understand as well. Caffeine is in other products like black tea, green tea, white tea. They have all caffeine as well. Mm-hmm. Only fruit teas have no caffeine.
Mint, yeah.
So then I looked into the scenario, and let me give you some hard-hidden facts about. But so far, I talked about the history and how this all comes about, right? But what does it mean? There's a study of the University of Southern Australia. They tested 17,000 participants. That's a lot. 17,000 participants between the age of 30 and 70s. Their result was clear. High coffee consumption is associated with reduced brain volume. And
that's important.
An increased risk of dementia. That checked 17,000 people. A study and another one shows that caffeine is responsible for progressive cartilage degeneration and pain and stiff joint. No doctor, when you have stiff joints and pain in the joints, will ever consider that it could be caffeine creating that.
No.
The researchers of University of Santiago de Compostela in Spain, they found out that caffeine is catastrophic for pregnant women and unborn babies.
Oh, wow.
And for me, unborn babies, that's the start of addiction. If you have a mother who drinks coffee, caffeine, Coke products, energy products, right? It all goes right through the baby in the womb. And it starts to create an addiction. Wow. Another point is that we should live on a pH level of about 7.5. And we can do another show if you ever want to about pH only. But coffee has a pH level which we see in number 2, in scale number 2, in the picture number 2. So There you see 7.5. Let's say you drink water, which is 7.5, and I drink water, which is 6.5. That's just one number, but it's what is called a logarithmic scale. So the 6.5 water is 10 times more acidic than 7.5. When you drink 5.5 water, it's 100 times more acidic, and so on and so on and so on, till down 2.5, 100,000 times too acidic. Now you say, who is so stupid to drink something which has a pH of 2.5, which is 100,000 times too acidic? Well, everybody who drinks Coke drinks 2.5, 100,000 times too acidic.
Mm.
All right. Thank you for the scale there. And water and coffee is 10 to 1,000 times too acidic. In my book, again, you see these graphs, you see these statistics. They all clearly show about the pH levels. So bad pH level is one thing. I've never met a person who is seriously ill or has cancer who lives on a healthy pH level. Mm-hmm. They're all too acidic. Cancer thrives on acidity and many illnesses, you know. Mm-hmm. Good. Now, we talked about doctors. Give me the number 7, please. And I want to make clear from the first show, I don't know how many times you will still invite me after that show, but that picture number 7 is my opinion. 95% of all doctors are ridiculous. 3% are good. 2% are fantastic.
Wow.
Okay. And I have a privilege to work a lot with these 3 and 2%ers. And what differentiates them from all the other doctors, they never worked for the money. And when they left university, they understood they don't know nothing. And they started to learn, educate themselves.
Right.
Well, in alternative medicine, in holistic medicine. Mm-hmm. You cannot treat a patient because he has this problem. What's around? Where does this problem come from? And nowadays, I'd say the majority of all problems are based on emotional components.
Yeah.
Okay. Which show then. So there was an interesting case that the Olympic Committee decided in 1984, caffeine is a drug, and they put it on the doping list.
Oh, wow.
Every sportsman who was caught with caffeine in the test was stopped from the competition. They realized that. And then in 2004, 20 years later, they said, oh, it's no more addictive. It's no more a drug. It's no more a doping. We'll take it off the list. Excuse me?
Yeah, what changed? What changed over time? Nothing.
So they began to participate in helping the addiction to spread.
Well, to me, it was corruption.
Corruption. Yeah. Okay.
The industries, because if you think back, 1984, there were hardly any energy drinks.
That's right.
Right. There were not.
Okay. So then all the energy industry said, I say so, look, come on, we don't want to sell our products. With your limitation, we cannot do it anymore. So they took it off. I cannot say it's a doping product, and then tomorrow morning, on Monday morning, I say, oh, I changed my mind, it's not doping.
Not anymore, yeah. Right.
And funny enough, in horse racing, caffeine is still a doping product.
Oh, interesting.
It's very interesting because it's in my book. It's in my book.
We want people to get your book. It's a good book.
It's interesting because when I go to the gyms in the morning, you see people coming before we engage in the spin cast. Yeah, to work out, they have this big 16 ounces of black coffee.
Yeah, sure. There's no coffee. There's no question. Coffee stimulates you, caffeine. There's no question. You know, it pushes you. There is no question. But what happens when you come down? You need another fix, right? And last example, the NASA did an interesting test. They photographed spider webs, okay? And this is my image number 5. On the left side, you see a normal spider web photographed by the NASA. And then they gave the spiders caffeine.
Oh, caffeine.
And on the right side is the spider web after they consumed caffeine.
Whoa.
Wow.
They were
Amazing.
totally gone. They had no more control.
That, they say a picture's worth a million words. I mean, that just says it all.
Yeah. So you see, when you look at advertising and commercials, my definition, 99% of all commercials of products which go through your mouth are addictive.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Sugar products, these so-called energy drinks, pharmaceutical products, fast food, chocolate, energy drinks, cigarettes, caffeine, of course. These are all the products which are advertised heavily. And these companies are not stupid. They know we spend $1 million, the people get hooked, and we have endless business. We just sit there and wait till they come in with the checks.
Right.
So we also want to ask our audience if they have any questions to put them in the chat for us, please.
Right. And I was just thinking when I was younger, I was in New York. I was managing an HIV prevention street outreach program in New York City, and all of my staff were people in recovery. And they, but many of them had been on heroin and probably drinkers as well. But, they were all in recovery, so they weren't doing that. But when they went to make coffee in the morning, and I wasn't drinking coffee, when they went to drink coffee, they would put in like 20 teaspoons of sugar. And I'm like, wow, you might as well just do the heroin. One addiction for the other. The sugar was, they became sugar addicts and just transferred from the heroin.
And I saw that most people who were taking coffee a lot, they were smokers as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa,
Right.
If you look there at my number 9, please.
Mm.
Rest in peace. Mankind is extinct because they believed that the laws of nature did not apply to them. We do not live with nature, but against him.
Absolutely.
Whenever you invite me, perhaps again for shows, this image will come up all the time.
Okay.
Because our downfall is greed in the world, and by ignoring nature when what God has given us. And there's my definition of health, number 11. You will find this all the time when working with me. Number 11. My definition of health is body and mind in harmony.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Love and gratitude. Yeah.
They got to be in harmony, body and mind. When you go to a doctor, the doctor never takes care of your mind. How are your kids doing, and your marriage, and he looks at some fact. Basically, he gives you 4 minutes of his time, and in 4 minutes, he wants to find out what your life is all about and what you screwed up the last 20 years. No, he cannot do that.
Right.
So the bottom line is now about coffee. I explain everything in the book, and I show statistics. I show quotes where you see the original sources from the material. And there is a scale about, you talked about now drugs, there's real drugs, what we call them. On page 82, there's a dependency potential of drugs, a kind of graphic, a statistic. And you see that caffeine is in the middle field of dependency products, higher than LSD dependency, lower than alcohol, in the middle field of all the dependency products.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get into the end, I think you have a very clear time frame. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what all these fantastic researchers found and the 17,000 people they tested. The only thing which is important is yourself. So if you sit there and listen to me, to us, and you take the position, well, that's all crap. I'm not addictive. I'm not a drug addict. I can guarantee that 95 to 98% of all people who listen now and drink coffee more than one cup a day or more, are addicted. If you drink one coffee a week, forget about it, not important. But if you drink regularly a coffee, it doesn't mean 10 a day, it can be 1 a day, 2 a day, but regular, you are addicted. And the only person who can find out is yourself for yourself. So I challenge you, why don't you start tomorrow, just for the laugh and giggles, and stop. You stop tomorrow to drink coffee, black tea, green tea, and so on, and every drink with the caffeine in it. Stop tomorrow. And then you'll find out for yourself what I'm saying. Is this all nonsense or is it true? Because to change something in life, you have to find what the true situation is. That's the basic of changing something.
Right.
And whether you then make a decision to stop coffee entirely, that's your choice. But I want you to be aware where you stand in life.
Exactly. We have a question from Eric, who earlier said that he learned so much from you and he was excited about watching the show this evening. He said, alternatives for performance enhancing supplements instead of caffeine. What are your thoughts on coffee, on tea? And you did say, you know, a lot of the teas have caffeine as well, but
every black tea, green tea, white tea has caffeine. There's no change. But in my book, you see, if you are drinking the coffee every morning for breakfast with a croissant and sandwich, I cannot take this away from you. You need that procedure with a hot drink, you know, so on and so forth, right? So in the book, I give you alternatives. And one alternative, the best I've ever found, is in the book, where the crossover from dropping the coffee and have some kind of substitution, which is a bit similar in taste, similar in color, but no caffeine. And I must say, I published this book first. This book came in America out two weeks ago. In Germany, it came out last year, and I'm now in the second edition. And a lot of people got back to me and confirmed my findings and what they were doing. And they confirmed, yes, I had to get rid of it, and the alternatives helped me to get rid of it. So in the book, there's an alternative, okay? And you cannot be a bit pregnant. You cannot say, okay, I drink only 2 coffee a day.
right.
You're pregnant or not pregnant? You want to get rid of it or not? Like, you know, we work with drug addicts, right? There is no a little bit of drugs.
Right.
Okay. So you cannot be a father, for example, and drink every day 6 coffees or 2 bottles of beer and look down on your son who is into fentanyl or LSD or whatever, right? You, as a father, you're as addicted like your son. That LSD is more toxic than coffee, okay. It's more expensive than coffee, okay. And the society doesn't accept LSD, but they accept coffee. That's a stupid movement through history, but it has no reasoning. So if you are addicted to coffee, don't look down on others who are strongly addicted. And I'm hoping in this book, when you read it, even if you're not addicted, you may know a relative, a son, a grandson, a friend, where you can say, well, I see this exactly happening with him. I hope this book creates understanding the problem of these people who are addicted, whether they know it or not. So every coffee drinker is a drug addict. I stayed to this sentence, and I will not budge, especially not after I made my self-test and I proved to myself I am addicted. And with 1 cup of coffee for 4 weeks, it took me 2 months to get out of it. Now imagine somebody drinks for 5, 10, 20 years coffee. And they will have strong, as I explained in the book, you will have strong withdrawal symptoms, strong withdrawal symptoms. If you stop tomorrow caffeine, you undergo strong withdrawal symptoms. And I had a woman, interesting enough, the woman who lectured my book, I write my material in German and then translate it into English. My English is not good enough. And she corrected my English, of course. And when halfway through the book, she decided to stop to drink coffee. She said, okay, I get it. Okay. And then she got back to me and she said, I couldn't keep it up. I fell back again after a while. I could not stay away from it. Well, Bernard, Imani, that's a bit of my caffeine coffee story.
That's it. That's an important story. I know I learned a lot. What about in terms of transitioning off of coffee? What do you think about some of the, and I know there are not a lot of really good brands of decaf, but what do you think about decaffeinated coffee?
I speak about it in the book. I'm not saying that to brush you off, but I'm saying I'm covering all that, right? But besides that, decaffeination was invented by my countryman in Germany many years ago. No, it's still caffeine, less, but it is. And more importantly, to decaffeine coffee, you have to use a lot of chemicals.
More toxic then.
Okay.
Yep, I've heard that.
So it's a price you don't want to pay.
Right.
There is, besides what I found in my book as alternative, I don't agree, know nothing, don't promote anything else. You got to make a clear cut. And I say in my book as well, maybe the clear cut is over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. By reducing, like drugs or whatever, step by step, cold turkey for most people doesn't work. Right? When I deal with addicted people, and a lot with addiction with food, right? I test, you know what kinesiology, muscle testing is?
Kinesiology, yes. Yes.
So I muscle test people since 40 years, okay? That's how I started to help people, to show them which foods they should eat and should not eat, right? And the muscle testing shows clearly what you can do and what you cannot do. Then it's your decision to follow that.
Right.
I mean, I've seen people who had diabetes sitting in a hospital, a leg was amputated, because at the end of diabetes, you have amputations. And the person or the persons were still sitting in the wheelchair and smoking away, you know, and eating sugary stuff.
That's unfortunate.
You cannot help. And the only way to learn education is to be interested. If you're not interested in yourself, in the world, you cannot learn.
Right, right.
For me, being interested is the start of learning.
And it's about self-love too. Because if you really love yourself, then you want to do better. You want to know more. You want to do better. You want to share what you know with other people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I have some shows. I do a show on tattoos. That tattoos ruin your body, and we have proved now that tattoos create cancer. I do show about piercings. That piercings harm your health, no question. So I've researched a lot of these themes, or like the 18 reasons why people have a bad sleep. A lot of people are suffering of bad sleep.
Yeah.
It's incredible, right? And then, of course, as you mentioned, I do a lot of electromagnetic radiation. I got a kick in about when my first born grandson, who was born in my bathtub, started to develop extreme eczema in the age of 3 months. And I found out that the main reason, not the only one, was electromagnetic radiation, when his mother had him breastfeeding while she was on the cell phone. Right?
Wow.
So I started
to hear that. People need to hear that. That is so important.
So then I started to say something must be done. And I looked around the market. There was no product to defend yourself from electromagnetic radiation, or no product which worked. I said, this is impossible. And I started to design in my mind, how does it work? How can we do that? And I ended up to produce products for the cell phone protection. And I never thought that would become a company. I was on a far different way of living. And I didn't want a production company. But I ended up then, because I took responsibility. I said, look, we got to bring this out, And people said, oh, you become a millionaire now. I said, no, because the cell phone companies will not put it in their cell phones, because they will admit that all these years they
harming people.
And a friend of mine was working with Ericsson. You know, Ericsson, they used to be the #1 in the world in cell phones many years ago. At the beginning.
I remember that name. Yeah.
So he worked with cell phone. A quick story. He worked with Ericsson, and they made tests on pigs. They put a cell phone attached to the head of the pig and let it run for a while. And then they slaughter the pig and cut the skull open to see how far the electromagnetic radiation penetrated the brain. They knew that, like the cigarette industry. They knew it, but the business is so big, nobody touches it.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll deal with that one in the next show. That was the introduction for
the next episode with Norbert.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom with us this evening.
Well, not wisdom. I'm working on wisdom, but it takes a while.
We want people to go out and buy your book, Coffee Addiction, and Caffeinism.
Yeah, it's on the website. I don't have it on Amazon yet. We may have it eventually. My secretary is working on it. It's $16.50 and $4 shipping. You can just order it, and we'll be happy to send it to you. Yeah, and send in questions you have. Send in questions.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
will. Thank you so very, very much. I will be tossing away my bags of green tea.
And I'll be tossing away my my decaf.
Sorry. Well, read the book and you see the alternative.
All right.
Yeah.
And start with the alternative.
Yeah, I'm halfway through, so I'm going to finish it. And I'm so glad you brought up about, I read this book by Lisa Barrett, How Human Emotions Are Made. And I know at the very beginning of your text, when you get into chronic stress, and she points out how chronic stress really erodes the brain and works against the brain when it's trying to help the body do what it needs to do. Especially it works against the telomeres, that really got my attention. So chronic.
But we all know the expression "fight and flight," right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Right.
That's right.
Think what I explained to you about the tiger.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is where it came from.
Exactly. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Brother Norbert, and thank you for our listening and watching audience. It's indeed been a pleasure and very, very informational and educational. Thank you
for having me. Thank you very much.
And
have a great time. Next month, you're off to the Bahamas. Have a great time.
All right. Thank you. And stick around. We'll do a little debriefing with you. Okay.
Ashe.
Ashe.